Is McDaniel going to the Dolphins? Let's talk about it. It does seem like McDaniel is now the front runner to get the Dolphins job. I think they're also interested in Kellen Moore, but seems like McDaniel is the front runner. Do you think that'd be a good choice for them? Look at that face. Look at that face.
I don't know. I'm not in interview room, so I don't know how well he interviewed. I mean, he seems a little awkward, but the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree has seemed to have a lot of success. So, I mean, it's the trend in the league, right? Like, well, if I had to see that like image one more time about three guys on the same Washington staff, like it was in the divisional round. So it's the trend in the league. So
yeah, here's the thing about Mike McDaniel. Miami should probably know this. Like, first of all, his new team is going to look at him like, whoa, this is like no head coach I've ever had. He doesn't have Kyle Shanahan co-signing him anymore. Like, he's gone, he's on his own, and he's going to have to talk in front of the team, and he's going to, stutter. It's going to be a little rough. And a lot of people are going to be like, I don't know this dude. Who that? Remember how I talked about him a couple weeks ago? He's like, yeah, I didn't get him at all my rookie year, but now I get him. He's cool, but I didn't get him at all my rookie year. Like, he's an acquired taste. You kind of need someone to almost like translate for him. Like, hey, this is what he's trying to say. This is what he means. Because he is brilliant. But here's the thing. He's a run. He doesn't call plays. He's not your typical offensive coordinator. He has Kyle Shanahan holding his hand the way Eric Bieniemy, has Andy Reid holding his hand. And here's the thing. He's a run game specialist, right? The Niners have a great run game. We all acknowledge that. But here are their yards per attempt ranks the last 5 years. 2017, they ranked 17th in yards per attempt. 18, they ranked 12th. 19, they ranked 9th. 20, they ranked 16th. 21, they ranked 16th. So if D'Amico doesn't have the resume, I don't really see. Honestly, Miami, I'd rather hire D'Amico Ryans than Mike McDaniel, because McDaniel is more the kind of guy where it's like the Office Space. Like, what is it that you do here? Because I'm not exactly sure what it is. I know he has a cult following, but I think it's much easier to point to what D'Amico does.
Well, yeah, I think by nature of the 49ers and who Kyle is, it's easier to develop defense coordinators from this because they're allowed to do more. Like, that's your right? Like, here, it's Kyle's offense. Like, only a run game coordinator or a pass game coordinator or the quarterback coach, because Kyle's running the show. Like,
the play caller.
Right.
You have like a sliver of the pie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's his baby. So until he does something like Andy Reid, where he gives over the play calling and all of that, and I don't think that's happening anytime soon. It's gonna be difficult to develop these offensive guys, and maybe you are developing them, but you don't really know another staff doesn't really know who they are, or no one doesn't really know who they are because they don't have much responsibility here.
This seems like a big mistake for Miami. I mean, you talked about D'Amico not having the ability to fill out a staff. What about Mike McDaniel? I think the reason they're bringing him in is because they made a mistake with Tua. And instead of doing not that Tua is terrible, but he wasn't the right pick. And I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. And instead of doing what Arizona did, which was just admit that they got it wrong and move on and get a new quarterback and get it right, they're trying to salvage it. And I think they look at the Niners and Jimmy as kind of similar. Like, oh, well, Tua is kind of limited, can't really go down the field, got a quick release, got some magic moxie. Maybe we could bring in the Niners architect and he could make Tua look like Jimmy looks. I don't know. Is that the thought process there, or am I going too far?
It might be. Like, if you have a run game, you might be able to Tua can be effective. I mean, the major difference, I guess, for me, Jimmy and Tua is way cheaper. So you can really load that roster up. He doesn't have to be Jesus. It's going right through.
Miami ranked 18th in yards per attempt last year. The Niners ranked 16th. So what are you getting? What are you getting? I'm sorry. Niners had Debo too.
To me, I mean, you've said this before. and it's one of your criticisms of Kyle. It's you're not necessarily hiring McDaniel as offense coordinator. You're hiring him as a head coach. So
Yeah.
he doesn't have to be a great offense coordinator. He's got to bring in guys, and he's got to be able to be a head coach.
Are you sure? Yeah.
As a head coach, you got to be a head coach first. Like you can't divvy out that responsibility. So in the interview process, if you're an owner, like those are the questions you really want to have. Things pertaining to building a staff and running a team. Jesus, not necessarily, how you're going to run your offense and all that, because you can always hire a guy to do that.